Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Teacher Training Academy 2025. I believe it's the third or the fourth edition of this initiative, global initiative. Since you are joining, hello from Sydney. So we've got the first person in the chat, and yes, and we appreciate the chats of the Teacher Training Academy, and the chat interaction are very compatible. Hi from Romania, Vietnam. So this is the beauty of being international. So as you are joining, keep the chat open because we hope to have some interaction with you. Columbus, Ohio, Macedonia, Vietnam, Ecuador, and Nepal. So greetings from Poland. I'm gonna be co-hosting the session, so I will disappear in a second. Hi from Bolivia, and I will hand over to Magali. So as a intro, so I hope that you've been here before. So this is like we are halfway through the Teacher Training Academy. So if I could have the next slide. There are three blocks in the Teacher Training Academy. We finished Develop series, and right now we are in the middle of I Teach series. So we had a session on using using AI in language testing in exam preparation courses. Camille Patrick delivered the session on international certificate. Today, Magali will take us through the level test, and next month we're gonna have a session on the benchmark test. And since some of you ask questions about the certificates, so there are no certificates per session, but we share certificates per completing the series. So once we finish the benchmark test session, we'll use Zoom and we'll get the attendees list, and we'll see who was present, who attended the 4 sessions. And those who attended the session will get the certificate. By the end of the whole academy, so in December, there will be a final certificate of completion and the Credly badge for those who attend a minimum of 7 sessions throughout all the Teacher Training Academy. So if you missed Develop series and if you missed the first 2 webinars, so actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions to go. So I hope that at least you attended at least one more in the previous months. And in this week, you will get an email with a survey, and we truly appreciate your comments and your feedback that you share with us. And you will get a PDF takeaway, so with the key points to remember from the session. And I guess I'm gonna hand over to Magali and her wonderful talk and experience and the energy to take us through the level test. The chat will be open. You have Q&A. We'll have questions at the end. Magali, over to you. Enjoy the show.
Thanks, Bartek. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for being here, and I'm really grateful of being part of this initiative. Let me introduce myself a little bit. I am a LATAM implementation supervisor. Basically, along with my team, we deliver over 20,000 level tests annually in the whole region. So we are quite experts. I am just here like the representation of the team, but we are quite experts on level tests. And on a more personal note, I am from Mexico City, and I check several stereotypical boxes as Mexican. I do love tacos. I can eat tacos morning, afternoon, and evening. I don't do that because it is not that healthy. But if I could, I would. I also love tequila. Of course, it's something also I don't do every day, just on celebrations. And I understand why the word is so like questioning why do we do this, but I really like spicy candy. We can talk later about why we do that. It's kind of complicated, I guess. But that's a little bit about myself. Just to get into business, this is the agenda for today. We are going to check 3 specific objectives. The first is just to review the characteristics of level test. in case you know a little bit of it or not. So hopefully you are going to know a little bit more about level test after this part. Then we're going to have some tips and some good practices for a successful implementation with level test. That, as I said, we have experience. So these are things that you need to consider for your future implementations. And last but not least, and the most part practice or practical part of the presentation will be what to do with level test results. So we are going to check on this. So let me just this writing. Okay, so to start with, I would like you to tell me, why do you think it's important to have or to apply placement exams to your learners? So I'm going to give you some minutes for you to scan this, and we can check on your answers. While you do this, I am going to change a little bit my my screen so as to, sorry, to check your answers basically here. Okay, let me, sorry for that. Okay. So we have it there, and we have some of the answers are to know their level, to determine the right level. It's challenge. It's very important to know students' readiness and their learning profiles, to accommodate different capabilities and needs, to have a better under of a student's knowledge, understanding, I guess, to understand students' prior knowledge to an objective, to find out their level of knowledge, to know the level. Perfect. So I really think we are in a very common ground. I have this quote from Jack Richards that basically says that what we do is that we need to have placement exams to locate students in the right level, right? What we want is for them to have this right level. I am going to go again to a presentation. So what we want is that to have students in the correct level, to match what we are teaching them with what they need, what they want, what we want to teach them, okay? So the next question would be, when you apply placement exams, what's the most challenging thing for you? So again, please take a minute to scan, and then we can take a look at your answers. I'm sorry, there you go. And again, all right. So I don't see any responses. I don't know if you could scan, but it was the same. Okay, thank you. So we have culture barrier, good, not helping them. Test design, Test tool, thank you. How to determine level, background, grading, the oral test. Yeah, I remember back in the day, a long time ago, you have to do that one by one, the oral test. It was kind of difficult. The facilities, the time, the medium. Commitment from students, accuracy, language barrier. Okay. So let's wait a little bit more to see if we have a little bit more of answers. And if not, we can go on. Okay. So directions. Good. So I'm going to promise last time I jump to the presentation. This is the last time I do this. Perfect. So some of the challenging parts of the challenging aspects that you just mentioned are covered or resolved by level test. Okay, as I said, like back in the day, I remember that sometimes I have to apply exams and students have to come in, you give them a piece of paper, right? Like with the questions, and then you have to create them manually. And then you have to take this like interview, and from there somehow to determine if like that the level in the moment and in the spot. So these are some of the characteristics of level test, and that's going to help us make this a little bit more friendly for us, also for students. Okay, so some of the characteristics is that we have two versions of the exam. One is assessing 3 skills, that it's listening, reading, and writing. The speaking is not in this version. And we also have the 4 skills that, of course, it integrates the whole thing, like the whole the 4 skills that we just mentioned. We also have a version for young learners that was just released, but we are not going to talk about that version for young learners in this session. Okay, so we are going to take these versions are for, let's say, 14 up, and that's it. Like right now, we're going to talk about the young learners version. The exam is adaptive. What that means is like I am presented a question, and based on the way I answer that question, then the program is going to send me the following question, and so on and so forth. Okay, so basically, the exam is going to adjust to my responses. That's also good because my exam is not going to be the same exam as the rest of the class. Like we have a very big bank of questions. So we all not start with the same questions. We are not going to have the same order on the questions because, as I said, the exam adjusts based on the responses. We have 3 different ways to deliver these exams. Basically, this is something that I really like because it adapts to your needs. Let's say that you have a very big group of I don't know, high schoolers, right? And you have a period of time to apply these exams. So what is going to happen is like you can do and you can use this batch option. What the batch option does, it's this one. What the batch option does is basically is going to help you create users. So you don't give that to their creative imagination. You create users, you create passwords, you have control on the groups, you have a lot of control. And you can do that in groups of up to 500 at a time. So if you have big groups, you have a very strict calendar, you can use this option to assign the exam. But let's say that you don't have those big groups, you don't need that much of control on the creation of the accounts or the users. Sometimes, for example, it's more for adults or teachers. You can use the email invitation option. With this, what we do is basically you just need the email addresses. You type the email address and they are going to receive the invitation for the exam through this email. They will have to create their account and then you will be able to receive the results. So that's very a very good option if you don't need to have that control on the creation of accounts, and that somehow will you trust your test takers. Then we also have the code delivery. This is basically, let's say, for example, that you are a language school. You don't know when they are going to come and ask for a placement exam. They want to, like, they arrive anytime, any day. So you need a tool for them to take in the moment, right? As a placement exam. So you can have a list of codes that are not assigned to anybody. You can control this in an Excel file. You can have them print too. You give them these print codes to them. They take the exam. You can control. You have the control of your Excel of who's taking which code, and that's about it. So basically, like the way you assign exams and you deliver these exams can be as controlled or as free as you need. The exam, it's very fast, right? That is something that we really appreciate as teachers, because it takes over 20 minutes if it's the 3 skills and 30 minutes if it's the 4 skills. It's up to, because as we said, the exam is adaptive. So probably not everybody is going to need the 20 minutes or the 30 minutes, because the program gets the information they need, and then probably we can stop a little bit earlier. I mean, it's not like 10 minutes, but probably, I don't know, like probably 18 minutes, 25 minutes, because based on my responses, the program is ready to assign a level. The exam is very flexible because we do it online. So it could be available 24/7, but that's up to you. That is something also good. Like, you can leave it open for days if you want, or you can also restrain if you want a specific day, a specific time. You can control that to the minute. So like, that's also the beauty of this exam. The results are AI based, so you are going to receive the results within, I will say, a minute. It's almost immediate. You can also control if you want to have test takers receiving the results or not. That is also that you want to control. Like, probably you said, like, I don't want them to see them, I just want to see them. You can control that part. Or if you say, okay, I want to deliver to them, but not like right away, you can control that, and you can send them later on. And we also have reports. You can see individual reports of these results. We are going to see them a little bit later. And you can also have these group reports. I see some raised hands, so I don't know if we can stop a little bit here to answer some questions, or if they are being also in the chat. I don't think you have the microphone open, so I will suggest you to have your questions in the chat, please.
Yes, so the questions in the chat, or you can have Q&A questions if you want to have them ready by the end.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so let's move on. So these are basically, as I said, the characteristics. This is the first part of the presentation. Then we said we were going to check these points of how to make this successful implementation. Okay, so I divided these into like the technological part and then the learners part. So in this technological part, okay, we have to make sure that they are using a computer. Okay, the exam is not designed to run on tablets or cell phones. Sometimes, you know, students, sometimes they still use a tablet, and it seems to work well, but then there's a moment in which it doesn't work well for them, and they cannot then reopen it in a computer. So just make sure that they are using computers for this, okay? It can be any type of computer. It can be a laptop, a desktop, or a Mac. It doesn't matter, but it needs to be a computer, okay? Then we also have to make sure they are using the correct browsers. The exam works perfectly with Firefox, with Edge, with Chrome. The exam is not designed for Safari, so if you have a Mac computer, you will need to make sure they use one of the three that are listed here. We really recommend the use of headphones. You can use the speaker and the microphone that are built in computers, yes, but that's not the best way to do it, right? Because like sometimes they are not correct. If they are in a very open space, probably that's not going to record the voice properly, etc. So just remember, if we have the 3 skills version, of course, we are not going to record our voice, but anyway, we can listen better if we have headphones. If you have the 4 skills version, then you will need to record your voice at some point. So it is important to have these headphones. It's a recommendation, right? If you have this type of headphones with built-in microphone, will be much better. Also, something to consider is if you are going to have students in the same space, just to make sure the distance between them it's like they are not very close, so as not to have this like the sound on one disturbing the other one, or the voice of one disturbing the other student. So just make sure that you take those little things into consideration. We also recommend to have blocked these translation apps or pages, just to make sure that they are not receiving any type of help during the exam. If you don't know how to do that, you can talk to your IT team, and I think it's something they can do easily. They can block this through the firewall, and they can block, as I said, apps, translation apps, Google Translate, dictionaries, etc., etc. So that's something that you are going to want to, just to make sure that anybody is receiving extra help, right? The exam has a built-in sample test that we highly recommend students to take. This sample test is right there next to the real test. Like, you don't need anything additional to get it. This sample test is going to help students to get familiar with the type of items they are going to find in the exam. This exam is not evaluated, is not going to give them any information on how they are doing. They don't give any feedback. They can take it more than once if they want to, but every time is going to be exactly the same. In this case, the exam and the questions are exactly the same because it's just a sample test. And as I said, the objective is just to make sure they know and they get familiarized with the type of questions they have, like multiple choice, drag and drop, and like they get to order things, they have some readings, they have some listening, they have some dictation. So basically it's for that. So we really recommend to take the sample test for them to get familiar with that and to feel comfortable once they start with the real exam. The real exam, it's just been available once. So the sample test, they can take the sample test as many times as they want, but not the real test, okay? And other thing that we need to consider, because this is something very common, just to make sure that you allow the pop-up windows, because the exams, like once you get into the platform, the exam is going to open in a pop-up window. And if you don't have those allowed, then it seems like the exam is not working or that something is wrong. But it's not just, it's just very simple. You can get into any of your browsers, you go to configuration, and most of the times you have this option of allowing pop-up windows in the privacy section. So those are the things, like technologically speaking, that you need to consider to have a successful implementation. Now, moving on. This is as for your students. Make sure that you have a little bit of orientation for your students. Prepare them for success. Give them information about the exam that is adaptive, that like how long is it going to take, that what skills they are going to be evaluated, etc. So just make sure they know a little bit of the exam, and that for them not to be or to have this as a surprise exam, right? If you are going to have the 4 skills version, tell them that they don't need to shout, they don't need to whisper, they don't need to speak slow. they need to speak with a natural tone and rhythm, because what they are going to do is that they are going to interact with the computer. So in a way, so just make sure that they know that they need to speak in a natural tone and rhythm. Make sure they don't skip any questions. As I said, the program is going to present this exam in an adaptive way, right? It's going to adjust. So if I skip a question, then the program is going to think that I don't know the answer. So the next question is going to be based on that. So just let them know that it's not recommendable to skip questions. The program is actually built in a way that if you skip a question, you are going to have there a warning notice telling you that you are skipping things. Just make sure not to do that, because sometimes that it's affecting the result, right? So just let them know that they are not going to be able to go back to any question if they skip it, because as I said, this is just adjusting at the moment they are answering. Pauses are not allowed. They need to make sure they have the 20 minutes or the 30 minutes to complete the whole exam. They cannot pause it. And like what we really, really recommend is for you to have some kind of supervision. Okay, just make sure that everybody is on task, that just to avoid any proxy testing. And like sometimes if you have this exam inside, well, you can have somebody going around, making sure that everybody is on the test. But also you can have like these tools that we learned from the pandemic, right? You can have a call, a Zoom call, a Teams call, or a Google Meet call, and you can ask them to open their cameras and just to make sure that they are there on the exam and they are not receiving extra help from anybody else. Okay, so those are the points of this section of how to make a successful implementation. And now we are going to put this into a little bit more of practice. As you can see here, we have this is the individual report. Okay, so what can we find is you have the name, you have the date of the exam, you can have your logo here, right? Like it's very easy to have your logo in this kind of reports. You can have these reports printed in PDF, translated to different languages. So what we're going to have is we are going to have the result on the CEFR and also in the global scale of English. So this person has this result is a B2 plus, and in the global scale of English is 67 to 75. And we place it right here. It's very visually. We have like the overall capabilities, and also we have the different skills and a little bit of a description on can-do statements of every single skill, right? If you can see, we have here the result, right? In reading, it's below level. Writing, it's above level. And speaking is at level. What that means is I am not below level, is not that it's below B2 plus, but that is on the lower range. Let's say in this case, that is closer to 67 than 75. And if it's above level, it will be the same. It's not 67, it's closer to 75, right? So this is a report that we have for skills. So I would like you to write on the chat, what do you think, or now that you have a look of the report, what are the suggestions? How will you use this report? So reading, before I give you my answers, what if you have this report for your students, what can you do with it? What do you think? What ideas do you have? You call the parents, okay. Okay, topic to learn, focus on the area that are lowest, knowing their strengths and weaknesses. Good. To apply to appropriate teaching, understand where and how the person is best, very fundamental, so detail, okay. extra practice for a student, provide for their needs. Okay, talk with elders about the result. Sure. Analyze students' skills and recommend to improve. Good. We have very similar ideas, right? So basically, if I have this individual report, what I have is basically that. Like, first of all, I will have like objective information on where to place this person, right? In which group, in which class, so as to help him improve what he needs to improve and advance in the rest of the skills. We also use this exam as a thermometer for certification. Like, what we do is that we use this exam and we said like, okay, this person has a B2 plus, so we can use this to enroll this person for our certification. In this case, for example, if it's B2 plus, our recommendation will be to register for our PEIC exam for our certification, Pearson certification in level 4, that will be C1, because it will be challenging, but still this person, I think, with a little bit of preparation and a little bit of exercise, will be able to get a C1 certification. As you mentioned, we also have this suggestion, right? Like, we can improve and we can work on the weakest skills. We can let them know which are these skills that he needs to work on. So probably in this case, if we go a little bit back, we can see that, well, reading, it's the lowest skill. So we can work on it. We can give them some suggestions on how to do it, right? We can recommend some strategies, etc. And as you said, like, this report is something, as I mentioned before, this is something that you can let students get through the platform, like, that you don't need to do anything else, or you can release them a little bit later with a couple of clicks, or you can print them in PDF if you want. You can get it translated for parents, and etc. So you have different options right there. Now, this is how a group report looks like. Okay, so what we're going to have here is basically the name of the institution. In this group, particular group, for this particular example, I have this group of 40. Of course, I am not going to show you the 40 over here, but this is a group of 40. Okay, and again, you can have here your logo, and you have here, like, this is the B1 plus group. Okay, so I have this group over here, and I have the date. Like, of course, for this example, they are like 3 years over here, but like, you can have this filter as much as you can, like, by days, by group, etc. Like, just for this purpose, I use this, but you can filter this, and as I said, you can make it as broad or as narrow as you need. You have the names of students over here. Of course, like, these are not the full names, but for the purpose of this presentation, but you have the full names over here, and you can see the results in a more visual way. Just for you to know that you can also have this report, you can export it into an Excel file, so you can have that too also if you want it. Okay, so let's do this exercise again. Based on what we have here, just what would you do with this information? Just remember, the green yellow triangle means above level. The invert triangle means below level, and this means above level. From here, you can also go to the individual report if you click on the clipboard, and you can have the complete report for every single of your students. So I read you again on the chat. If you have this information in your hands, what would you do with it? Okay, give feedback. Good. You can give feedback not just to students, right? It could be also great feedback for teachers. Like, imagine, like, this is my group, and I can take a look at it, and I can give feedback to a teacher on the low-level areas and design remedial work, adjust the planning. It makes it easy for you to frame the course, of course. Small talk between parents, students, and teachers, adjust planning. Sure. Group students according to their strengths and weaknesses. Chance for improvement. Compare with previous tests and give feedback. Okay. Boost the student's self-confidence. Perfect. So we have some, again, similar ideas. So what I recommend is, as I said, like you have a very friendly look of the group's performance, right? So if you are the teacher, you can easily analyze the areas, the skills that you need to work on, who's the weakest or who's the strongest, and probably work together with them. You can also identify skills to work in class, as we mentioned. Like, I'm going to go back a little bit. You can analyze here, and it said as a group, right? I can see like the weakest areas just based on this information here would be reading and speaking, because I have 2 students that are below the level, right, in these two skills. So that would be very helpful for me when planning, because I can identify that I need to work on those 2 skills. As you mentioned, we can adjust planning, right? We can have differentiate learning, because not everybody's at the same level. So if I see like the first person has like these 3 skills above level, and this one is at level, so he's a very strong student. Whereas this other person, this second student, probably needs to work on a little bit harder, because he has 3 skills below the level and just 1 above level. So this is a person that we probably, as you mentioned, right, remedial work, extra exercises, something different for this person to catch up with the rest of the group, right? That like the rest of the group seems very like even, right? We have just this person that is very high and this other person that is a little bit lower. So we can also plan accordingly. And if you happen to have access, well, actually the access is free of the Global Scale of English Teacher Toolkit. It's completely free. It's a great tool because, like, I'm not going to show you to show it to you right now, but it's a great tool. If you take notes of this Global Scale of English Teacher Toolkit, what you can go and do there is like we analyze the results. We know that reading and speaking are the lowest, right? And I want my students to get to the big 1+, that is this group. So I can go there, I select the type of learner that I have, if it's an adult, if it's adolescent, or if it's an academical student, etc. I can select the specific skills I want to work on, and the Global Scale of English Teacher Toolkit is going to help me with the learning objectives. So they on a form of can-do statements, I can have all those learning objectives. So it's also, I think they give you a little bit of recommendations on exercises that you can have. And as I said, this teacher toolkit, it's for free. So it's a very useful tool that you can use with these results, right? Like you can adjust your planning, as you mentioned, reinforce the weak areas, and you can also have this teacher toolkit, okay? Excellent. So let's move on to the next report. This is also the group report, but this is a broader group report. As you can see here, the previous one has only 40 students. In here, I have 235 students. So I have also this band, and they are divided by level. The darker the color, the more students I have on that area, right? So for example, here I have few students on A1 and C2, but my biggest area is right here. But also I can see it here on a chart. You can see like out of these 235, like 20% are in B2, the other 20% and B2+, etc. You can, if you want to see whose students are in B2+, whose students are in C2, you can click here where it says see students, and it will go to the previous report that you have. You again can download this whole report with your 235 students with a couple of clicks. And you can have it in an Excel format if you want to, if you need to. So again, if you have this report, this information on your hands, what can you do with it? What is it useful for? I read you again in chat. Okay, to group them properly according to their level of English. Sure. Place students. Thank you. Stats can help you. That's correct. Can help you visualize your class. Sure, Felicia. Setting goals, of course. Okay, let's wait for a little bit more. Plan marketing strategies for following levels. Sure. Oh, I like that one. Marketing strategies. Focus on your objectives as a school. Sure. So let's move on. I'm going to share your ideas are great. And as I said, like we really think alike. So as you said, like you can have this overview of the distribution, not just for a group, probably it's a whole class, right? Like the whole generation, the whole grade. So I can take a look, even the whole school if you want, right? The whole institution, you can take a look and you can say like, okay, like the whole school is right here in this moment, okay? Just remember that this is a photograph, right? Like after, of course, you give them classes, they are going to improve. But this is a photograph of the moment, and you can see where you are as an institution, or as I said, the whole grade, the whole generation. Lots of us have these KPIs, right? Like, and this is something that we can say, like you, as you mentioned, objectives. This is one of the indicators that we can use. Sometimes we have these indicators and we are required to get to a particular level, right? Like a B2 or a B2 plus, like the minimum, it will be our benchmark. So we can identify where we are in a very objective and clear way, and just to create these strategies to move where I need to move, right? If I go back a little bit to this exercise, I can see like the 43%, 41, no, 51, sorry, my maths, 51% of my students are B2 up, right? So probably I have to concentrate on the rest of these students, like the ones that are B1 plus down. If I have this level of achievement, or if I need to improve on that, if it's one of my indicators. So basically, we can also have training needs, right? Like, what are my teachers doing that we need to work on so as to move like the whole thing, right? Just remember that this exam is for placement, okay? So probably you can apply that like right now at the beginning of your period. You can apply it right now and you can see where they are, if that's what you need. If like you can check where they are right now, and later on you can compare it with the next tool. Like just to remind you that the next session is with my good friend Monica Celis, and it's about benchmark. And that exam benchmark is basically for that, for progress. So you can have the two of them, right? Like you have this exam for placement, and 6 months later, 1 year later, as like you after some preparation, you can apply another exam. You can have benchmark. It's in the same platform. It looks very much the same, and you can complement this one because that's for progress. So remember just that, like this is placement, but you can have another tool for progress, and you can compare, right? Like how well they are doing, how you receive them, and where are you leaving them after some months of preparation. So basically, like as I said, you can use these reports for that, okay? And just a couple of things to wrap up before we jump into the questions. Just to make sure that we place students in the correct level is going to help them succeed and not struggle. That I think this is the what we all look for, right? Level test is that fast tool objective. It's scalable because, as I said, like you can do this in minutes, right? You can have this. We apply like 20,000. Well, more, the most we have applied is like 13,000 in a couple of weeks. So it's very easy for you to have this in a very big scale if you need it. The reports, just remember, it's like reports and results are great, but we need to do something with it, right? Like to put things into action. Like probably, as we mentioned here, you can personalize instruction, you can identify if you have gaps, you can detect even training needs. Teachers are key, right? If you are a school, teachers are key to make sure that your students are taking the test properly and that the results that we get are the real ones. So I really highly recommend you to start using level tests with confidence. It's a very friendly, easy tool to use to prepare, to support, and to empower your learners. If you need help, if you would like to have a little bit more of information about level tests, please reach out to your sales rep. And just before we close, I would like to share with you this quote from Dylan William that says, "Good decision making is informed decision making. In education, the more we know about our students, the better we can teach them." And I really think that level test is the best way to start. Basically, that, right? Knowing where our students are. So that's out for me. So I don't know if you have any extra questions, something that you would like to discuss. Thank you.
Later on, there was a question, Magali, where to find those tests?
Okay, so those tests are on a platform that it's one of our platforms that it has not just this one, but different tests, and it's called Test Hub. So if you can contact a Pearson sales rep and they can help you, you can get your credentials, you can get your account for the platform and all the exams that you need in there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there was the same question in the Q&A. I am a teacher, and how do I access this level test to implement in my class?
Yeah, as I said, the best way would be to contact your sales rep, and I can share with you. Let me stop sharing my screen, and I can share with you like the support link, and in the support link you can have.
I guess,
yeah.
Magali, we could have it in this PDF with the summary takeaway, because you will all get the survey and the PDF summary, and you'll find in this PDF the link to use.
Perfect. Thank you.
Who can purchase? Any requirements?
Not really. Like anybody can purchase it. You don't need actually to be an institution. We have some customers that are like, let's say, freelance teachers, and they have their private classes and they can use it too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay.
The codes option, I have this. Yeah. The codes option is already available. Yeah, it's like the three options I mentioned here to assign exams are all built in the platform. Like you don't need to do anything extra to get the codes option. Sorry, I have this. Can someone buy the test to apply it to themselves? Not really. It needs to be through a teacher or through an institution.
Okay, so we're gonna wait 1 more minute, and if not, Yeah, what about requesting access to a sample, Magali? Is this something which is available or is it like local initiative?
No, the sample test is built in the platform, so every single student will have that. But if you require some samples, again, talk to your sales rep, and probably you can get some. I don't really think we have that like open to the public. We have some
Mhm.
videos on how, like, you can see the exam, but not sample test. So contact your sales rep to get probably a couple of free exams for you to see them.
It's probably the best, as you said, like contacting local Pearson
Yeah,
representatives saying that you are interested in introducing the level test within your institution and just to follow the initial steps.
yeah. The name of the platform is Test Hub, and there is some exams, not just level tests. We have different exams there. So you can ask for level test is the one that we presented today. So
Okay, so thank you, Magali, for the session, for sharing the information. And this week you will get, dear our wonderful audience, thank you for all the questions. We hope that you found the session useful. The recording will be added to the Teacher Training Academy website. So it will take a week or so. So you'll find the recording there. You'll find the recording of all the previous sessions that you can watch. So as for the level test, if you are interested, you'd like to get more, you'll get this highlights PDF from us and then get in touch with the local Pearson contact saying like, I'd like to learn more and I'd like to experiment and I'd like to use this solution in my class. Magali, thanks a lot for sharing your experience, your down-to-earth tips on implementation. And next month, we will cover, as Magali mentioned, the benchmark test. So it will be the complete process, starting with a level and then using benchmark in the educational protocols. Thanks a lot. Thank you for being
thank
with us
you.
and enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Bye bye.